Hi, it's Gadget UK here again. I'm sorry, it's a bit of an unexpected video this. I was supposed to be getting something else up, but I've been not well. I know I keep going on about it. I sound like a bum in, what's the word? Hypochondriac, but seriously, my health has been really bad. Anyway, so this is unexpected in the sense that I was expecting to do a well-presented review of this, and it's turned into a few things. It's just a quick unboxing. You can see it's dirty. You can see I've got there's a few scratches. Some of these aren't perfect, and I may have introduced some of these scratches myself. The serial number is missing. You'll see some jump cuts here where things are out of sequence. At this point in time, they gave me permission to go inside this, so I had to remove, unfortunately, the lovely serial number, but you'll see me take that off, I think, shortly. But anyway, yeah, this arrived. I was hoping to do a fantastic review because I played the Mega Drive version. I bought the ROM. I wasn't one of the original Kickstarters, but I joined when I was aware of it, and I purchased the ROM, and I got the Dreamcast ISO as well as part of that campaign. And the Mega Drive version is fantastic. I've yet to try the Dreamcast one, but anyway, I was really, really excited about getting this. I purchased this before I lost my job, actually. So, yeah, I probably wouldn't have been able to buy this as things stand, but yeah, this was bought when I still worked at Sodexo. And first impressions when I unboxed this, it looked pristine. You know, it didn't have all these dirty fingerprints, and I don't think it had these little scratches here. It's probably because it's been in and out, same with these ones here. It's been in and out of various MVS here, as there are some issues, as you could probably understand from the removal of the serial number. Anyway, let's have a look. So it came in a nice pink ESD bag in a little box like this, just like you get with the other MVS cartridges. You know, like anything like NG Dev, it's come presented the same way with a lovely sticker there, really well packaged. It's come with a little strip here that you can stick on the cabinet, because this is the MVS version. You've got the mini marquee there to stick on your cabinet. All really nice stuff, this. Lots of extra things here, some postcards. I'm wondering, actually, if I got the collector's edition or something, because, yeah, I didn't expect to get all these things. So, lovely postcards here showing artwork from the game. Absolutely love it. I love it. It's such a great game. And as I say, my anticipation about getting this, one of the things was the music. It is such a great soundtrack. I'll stick his name up there. The guy who worked on the music for it is fantastic. I love the Mega Drive version. So what I was expecting, you see, is almost a one-to-one translation to the Neo Geo, because the sound architecture is very much the same. It's very similar. So at some point in the development of this, they decided to have the soundtrack as ADPCM. Now, some people don't like that. I'm not that fussed, actually, because I've got Metal Slug 5 here, and that was where SNK shifted towards, you know, putting the whole soundtrack as a, you know, a single, I think it was mono, actually, on their PCM track, ADPCM. So we knew in advance that was going to be the case here, but what we didn't expect is what you'll see. The sound comes from the left-hand side, and you don't really hear anything from the right, but if you put headphones in, you can hear like noise and a tiny bit of the soundtrack on the right hand side, almost like it's 95 or maybe 98-99% left side and like 1% right side, and you can hear noise and crackles and things, but you only hear that with headphones. So and this applies to the MVS version and the AS version. As far as I understand, it's all copies. Now, Bitmap Bureau are looking into a solution for the sound thing. I don't think it's anything to get too stressed about. It will be for Bitmap Bureau, because obviously they're now having to go away and think about it and think how to fix it. And I think ultimately what it's going to be, it's going to be a VROM update or an update to the CPLD. Now, we'll have a look at the cart in a minute. We're going to be looking inside that cart. They have kindly given me permission to take the serial number off and have a look inside, see if I can work out perhaps what's going on with my MV1FZ, because that's the other issue. As well as the sound being on the left, that's the first thing that's, you know, affecting most people who own the MVS or the AES version. On the MV1FZ, it's flaky as anything. The graphics are all over the place, exceptions, you can't play it. It's just a nightmare on the MV1FZ. So I tested it on the 4-slot, 6-slot, 2-slot, and some MV1FZ boards, and I seem to get the same problem on the MV1FZ boards, but the 2-slot, 4-slot, 6-slot are all fine. And I think people have been playing on the AES, they haven't had any problems. It's just the sound issue they're getting, but anyway, we'll look at those issues in a minute. So yeah, it comes with these lovely flyers here. And then you've got the dip switch sheets and stuff here, very nice, love this sort of stuff. And everything came in these little pink ESD, you know, anti-static bubble wrap things. So I got the soundtrack there as well. I must have got the collector's edition, I think. And I think that's some sort of key tag. I'm not going to open that. like a keychain thing with, I don't know, XenoCrisis logo or something like that. So that was really cool. I've also got the Neo CD version. We'll have a look at that towards the back end of this video. As I say, I'm doing this bit at the end here. You know, I've been messing around with this for ages. It's just, you know, the way things have transpired is not what I want to do. What I want to do is open it all up, show you everything, and then just show you everything working and go, wow, what a great game, everyone go and get it. Yeah, that isn't how things have transpired. And also a poster as well. Again, I'm not going to open that. So first impressions on opening, I'm blown away really. Lovely label on there. I took the serial number off here, but I'll overlay something so you can see what it looked like with the label on before I took it off. So I'll show you a brief clip here of my original problem, and I appreciate you're not going to be able to tell, but trust me, the sound is to the left hand side there. You can see the bit of the graphical issue and the sound problem. I appreciate all the work that's gone into a game like this. The Mega Drive version rocked. So straight away, the music is come from this speaker, not this speaker. You can sort of hear it, hopefully, in stereo. It is coming from the left. And just watch right hand to press start, and I've cleaned the cartridge contacts. Look at that, the screen's messed up. Cleaned it several times here. It seems really flaky on a MV1FZ. And just watch as the ship flies away, tiles get messed up. See that? You can see there's a warranty here, you can see it's still intact. I've been posting some suggestions. Initially I was thinking the VROM was messed up, maybe they just recorded it left hand side or used the wrong WAV, I don't know, some conversion issue where when they stuck it on the cart here at the last minute, maybe they just didn't realise it was left channel only. Because it is the sort of thing that actually, if you're quickly sticking these into an AES or an MVS, and it's on a TV, and you look at it and go, yeah, display looks alright, game starts, music sounds alright, next car. You could miss it, because it is, you know, especially on a small monitor, the speakers are going to be pretty close to each other. You're not going to notice the stereo separation issue there. So, you know what? It's a fairly easy mistake to make. It is. I feel so sorry for whoever has, you know, the issue there, whoever made that mistake. It's the sort of thing I could have done. Do you know what I mean? He's like, you put me on the assembly line there and I'm the one testing the carts. It'd be very easy to make the mistake. The only way you'd notice it, I think, is if you had headphones on and you're testing it that way. But is it the sort of thing you'd expect? Probably not. You really wouldn't expect at the last minute some weird glitch where the audio seems shifted to the left-hand side with a little bit of noise on the right. Now, that's important to note, and I'll perhaps do some captures of this so you can see what I mean. The audio is on the right, but it's so low level, it's like, it feels like it's at 1% or 3 or 4 or 5% at most of what it should be. So, you know, if you just have the right hearing, you can sort of just hear the music, but it's like really noisy. But I put that down to the fact that it's such a low level, you're going to hear noise. So my thoughts with this is that maybe the VROM data was messed up, maybe the M1 is shifting the sound to left. I don't think so. That's the sort of thing that it would be hard for them to do. You know, they would have got the sound engine and stuff all working and tested it and made sure it's stereo and yeah, it sounds great, and then probably never touched the sound side at all. So other than a problem with the CPLD on here that handles the PCM stuff, the other theory, something's just made me realise that maybe there's some weight in this theory. I watched a video of the AS version, and on his, the audio sort of starts and stops, kind of thing. I don't know whether he's got the left-hand channel only issue going on, but on his instance, his system there, on an AES, it seems to start and stop. Now, with ADM PCM, you've got two types, this Type A and Type B. Now, with the type that I've come across problems with in the past on things like MVS carts and on the official King of Monsters 2 cart, it was all about adding a capacitor to either, and I forget which it is, the SDR MPX or SDP MPX, is it? I forget exactly what it is. I'll stick them up there if I'm wrong. There's two. One relates to Type A, I think, and one relates to Type B. I could be wrong. They might both relate to both. I honestly can't remember. I think they relate. One relates to A, one relates to B. But anyway, in those previous instances of problems there, adding something like a 47 picofarad cap to ground on that line near the edge would solve the problem. And I think there's some ringing or something going on, or something like that, some parasitic capacitance due to the trace layout. And that was certainly the case on the King of Monsters 2 official cart. There was a problem on that. It probably exists on most of the King of Monsters 2 carts out there. On certain MVS models, certainly on the MV1FZ, occasionally you could just get a PCM glitch. You could hear it glitch. I noticed it through my hours of playing that game and hours of testing. Just occasionally I would notice it and go, what was that? That was a PCM glitch. And then I investigated, and it had 150 picofarad cap by design from SNK on there. So I was like, oh, hang on a minute, and I compared to other boards, so they didn't have them. So I thought, okay, they obviously targeted adding a cap there for the very reason we're hearing that glitch, but they thought they'd fixed it, they didn't quite. And the issue there was just reducing that 150 picofarad down to 47. And on my machines, all of them, it solved it completely. So that shows that there's always been an issue there. Some of the carts have got a cap there, depending on what's on the cart, depending on the PCBs, because if you're not aware, the Neo Geo carts, there's lots of different top boards and bottom boards. They vary depending on the game that's on them. Some of the boards don't have the issues at all, don't even have a cap, don't need a cap. Other ones do. Some of the carts hardly use any PCM, or they use one or the other types of PCM. Again, they don't need the cap. So there's not, you know, that many carts I've looked at that have got a cap there, but the ones that do, they seem to be 150 picofarad. But anyway, long story short, Bitmap Bureau have given me permission to go in this. I really don't want to. I don't want to destroy that lovely serial number there, but and what's the best way to do it? If I try and peel that, is it going to destroy it? I don't know, but they said they could replace the cart or replace the label, so let's see what we can do, see if there's anything we can do to help them here. I might not be able to do anything, because I'm not going to be able to program the chips, I'm not going to be able to do very much, but I've got the Rigol now, a scope, so we can certainly scope a few things. Mind you, it's pretty hard when it's in the MVS. But we can also just investigate, have they got a cap on either of those lines? Maybe I could just try and add a cap and just see if that fixes the problem. It'd be amazing if it suddenly went right channel as well, because, well, it'd just be amazing, wouldn't it? It'd save everybody a whole load of grief and stress and upset. So I've got the ESD wrist strap on here. I just had a thought, if I remove the screws, hang on, there's two labels though, isn't there? Yeah, what I was going to say is try and lift it that way so we don't damage this, but we can't do that, can we? I mean, I could try and heat that, I guess. You know what, I'm tempted to just try and peel it, actually. Just try and get under the very edge there, just see if we can peel it off before we start here. But I don't know whether it's a warranty. Well, we know it's a warranty label, but I mean, is it one of these ones that... No, it's not. We might be able to get that back on. Well, that's one positive thing there, I guess. Oh, there we go. I'll stick that somewhere safe. I kind of feel sad going in this because, well, I've just disturbed my 164 serial number, haven't I tell you what, I was so excited to get this car. It's, you know, something I've been waiting for with everybody else for a few years here. And I'm a huge fan of what they did with the Mega Drive version. It's such an amazing game. The soundtrack in particular is a key feature. You know, the soundtrack, if you were to ask me and say, well, what do you like most about XenoCrisis, I would say the kick-ass soundtrack. It is just absolutely amazing. And if you were to ask me about what my excitement, you know, what would I be most excited for playing this on the MVS, my answer again would be the soundtrack. The gameplay is great, the graphics are great. It's obviously going to be slightly enhanced, I think, on the MVS. You know, there's more colours and things from what I've seen. But, you know, for me personally, and this, it might just be me, but for me, the main thing was the music. Right, so I'm filming it here like this. Again, wrist strap is on. Just so we can see which way these boards are arranged. Let's just carefully pull them out of the shell. Should put the shell out of the way. Put it down here so you can see that board is on the top here. So that's going to be the prog. Yeah, it says there prog. 1 gigabit MVS prog. So it's quite a bare board, isn't it? It's quite, you know, they've managed to reduce that quite a lot with very few chips on there. So on this board, you're going to have the P1, it's marked there P1, and the V1. And this is where the ADM PCM comes from. And we've got some level shifters here. Can you see that? There are a few caps and things there. So, yeah, let's investigate. This is the board I think we're going to have an issue with. And if we put that down, so this is going to be the char board. You have the thin part towards the bottom there. I mean, don't go inside yours Yeah, what's that there? Piece of captain's tape, look, just sticking on there, look, can you see that? Just get rid of that. So again, a lovely, simple design. So we've got C1, C2, S1, M1, 3.3 volt regulator, loads of voltage level translators there, you know, the buffers, they're like LV245s or something like that. So yeah, I don't think that board is the board we need to worry about at this stage. I need to just have a look at this board and see what's going on with the SDR MPX and SDP MPX, is it? I forget. There's two signals. Right, so I'm not sure I see any caps there. These caps I think probably for other things. There could be a cap there. But in any case, can you see these wires here? The control signals we're looking at, some of the pins here, and they come through these little wires, yeah? They go through the board, diagonal like that, so these sets of wires here, and then go up there like that. So we have got quite a tight, close proximity run of these connections here, but it's going to be this area here if there was some sort of trace layout thing related to that line, and it seems to be that line. I don't know whether it's because it switches at a certain frequency and it creates, the problem in general, not just with this, that trace, becomes a problem because of the nature of the frequency. Because these things typically is about frequency. Certain signals running at a certain frequency, running close to another trace, is where you get a little bit of coupling, inductive coupling. So I think, the first easy, simple thing to do here, actually, is measure a ground. I think these are grounds. Measure a ground on one of these little caps somewhere here, and have a little wire coming off, and some copper tape. I'm just going to stick a small sliver of copper tape over that whole thing there with those wires, yeah, and we'll ground it and just see if that makes a difference. Because you know what, I have seen small mods like that make huge differences to things on an EverDrive, for example, on a Famicom, one of those cheap adapters that have got routing like this, routing issues. On that case, there's like 90-degree turns, which is where you're going to get problems like that. That's not 90 degrees, it's 45. But nevertheless, it could be the issue. If you look at them here, you've got these traces here run right next to some of those. We might end up having to stick a piece of copper tape there, but let's just do a couple of quick tests with a piece of copper tape and see if there's any difference. The video I just watched of someone using this on an AES, the game on an AES, it's the first one I've seen where actually they have sound, but the sound cuts out and starts and stops, which is, again, why we're looking at this particular theory here. We've got nothing to lose. They give me permission to do this, and I don't like going in here. I don't really like having to do any mods to the board, which is one reason why I want to solder a wire from an existing point rather than scratch the ground plane off here or try and attempt to solder there. It'll just make a mess. So let's keep it simple. Yeah, in the words of Alison, let's just move that other board out of the way while I put a bit of pressure here. Yeah, in the words of Alison, and a woman I used to work with, Faye, actually, keep it simple, stupid. So yeah, let's do this, because it's simple. It's a really simple thing. You don't need to check anything, you just need to be careful. You don't solder anything in the wrong place here, and take ESD seriously, because obviously it's a nice, expensive, well-designed board here. I wouldn't want to damage this, because right now I think we've just got a little glitch here. There's nothing fundamentally wrong with this. It's really well made, it's very well laid out, but maybe not perfect in respect to the PCM. So let's just flatten that. You can see I'm just polishing that super flat, so you can see the traces. Can you see the trace layout below? I'm just gonna, can you see that? I'm just going to just keep doing that just until I'm convinced it's very, very representative, the traces below, because that coupling, how close that is, means you get a really good coupling. And what this will do is, if this is grounded, it's we're introducing a ground plane here. We're introducing a ground plane, because can you see these traces here? There's no ground plane in between them. That's the sort of thing where you get a problem. So we're doing the opposite here. Well, we're not doing the opposite, we're doing the equivalent thing. If instead of being able to put ground in between them, we're putting ground over them, yeah, as near to them as possible. So now we've got that in place, I'm going to solder a little wire down here, and let's just add a tiny bit of solder. I'm going to do it here, down here, because there's nothing near here, look, and it's just easy to do. We just need a little bit. There you go, like that. I'll now use the multimeter and we'll test on connectivity here. I'm assuming this is, yeah, it's ground. You can see it goes to this big outside part here. So what I want to do is just find the nearest cap that's not next to a chip, like, because it'll just make soldering a lot easier. And it's going to be that one there, I think. Let's just check, is that 5 volts? Or is that 3.3? Yeah, like that's on the 3.3, but the ground down there is the ground. So I'm going to use that cap there, actually the bottom of it. So we'll just prepare this wire. Let's just trim that right down. This wire is perhaps a little bit on the thick side, but we'll just add a tiny bit of solder there, if we can. There we go. Probably assembled with solder paste, these, I would think. And we'll just join that on, if I can. Let's just add a little bit more solder. The big problem is that wire is pretty thick. It's the sort of thing, if you were doing a model like this, you need to be careful, because if you pull it, you're going to break the board. You're going to rip a trace, rip a pad off, etc. So that's that. And we'll just carefully rotate it around here. Just trim that off. Doesn't need to be that long. Now what I'm not going to do is use the cutters and try and pull that, because I'll end up pulling this off the board. I really should have prepared it before I stuck it on, but we only need a little bit exposed here, so let's just melt back the plastic. It's going to look a mess, but you know what, I don't care, this is a test. And let's just simply join it up here, and then we'll just check on connectivity to make sure that is grounded. The worst that can happen is, if I carefully reassemble it, it might not do anything. It might have no effect. This is super quick, easy thing to test, but look, that's grounded now. Yeah, so I think just for good measure, let's just have another little rub here. And ESD wrist strap still on, because it's this bit here, I think, that's where the issue is, if there is an issue. And let's reassemble it and try it. Yeah, intro music. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to tell. It's coming from here, but if we stick a credit in, hang on, that's in the centre, but the music is from here. And if I start it, now I've got two issues with this, as you'll see. Look, tiles are messed up there, but yeah, that could just be this cart. Maybe there is an issue with it. You can see the background tiles changing here, see that? But it's not the foreground stuff there, so I'm not really sure what's causing that. Yeah, just left channel again. Now, if you put headphones in, on the right hand side you can hear a little bit of noise. Yeah, so unfortunately that didn't make any difference, that little bit of copper tape. Now we could extend that further and do the same thing on the underside, because maybe that's not enough. The other thing is obviously potentially a cap there. There's a bit of guesswork. Let's just try something else. So the interesting thing, just having a look at this now in respect to these two control signals. The first one is down here, and it goes up here. There's a cap. I can see it straight away. Hang on. There you go. So that cap there is on here. Just looking what it's running, yeah, it's running next to a few things there, isn't it? Maybe it's not best placed where it is, so close here. It would be better down here, I think, but then again, it's going to do the same job. But there's one there as well. Where's that go? One's going to a via, perhaps, is it? Yeah, I suspect the one for the other side of the PCM here is going to be going down here somewhere. It might come out one of the vias there. Let's just see if it's the one next to it by chance. I don't know where it is now. It's somewhere over here. It's that one. Yes, it's that one and that one. So we've got caps there. Should we try removing one? I'd like to see what size those are, actually. I really don't like this level of tinkering with this board. I really didn't want to be doing this, but you know what? They've said they would be kind enough to either fix it, replace it, whatever, and they've given me permission to come in here. So, and as it is, I don't want to play it. I want to play it, but I don't want to play it as it is. So, yeah, let's do this. Okay, let's start with the one on the left. Let's just remove it. Let's just add a little bit of solder, and we'll just carefully. I could use hot air. I've got hot air. That ground there, we might actually need to use hot air. It's going to absorb loads of heat. Let's just try and pull it off. I'd rather not use hot air, because I don't want to affect any of these things with hot air. That is incredibly well stuck on there because of that ground. There we go. Let's just flick that off. There we go, it's on the mat. So we can measure that in a minute. Let's just test it without it. I'll do the same with that one. Obviously I'm going to keep these two separate, and I can measure the sizes because they may be different, but we may need to experiment with a different size cap there next, because I'm not sure, I mean, unless I try grounding on the underside here, I'm not sure that is the actual issue. It might just be about the size of those. Of course, again, I'm just speculating, because you know what, it could be the VROM. What's been written to here could be incorrect, or it could be the code on this CPLD that's doing something not quite right with that. Could it be something on the way here, maybe? I don't think so, actually. No difference without that. You can see it is 150 picofarad. So they seem to have gone with what SNK used on some of the boards, but you know what? That can be a problem. Sometimes you've got to go lower. 47, as I found on King of Monsters 2. So anyway, that one didn't make a difference, but that might be the side of the PCM bus that we're not interested in at this stage. So what I mean is, the one I've just changed, alright, it's not adversely affecting anything, but it's not improved things. We need to move to the next one now, I think, and I'm guessing that's going to be 150 picofarads as well. So let's carefully move the shell out of the way, separate that again. So again, I don't like doing this, but we can get them back on. It's going to be the same problem here, isn't it? It's going to absorb a load of heat on the ground side there. A little bit there. I'm just getting something ready to wipe this off on, actually. Hang on. There we go. There we go, wiped it off on the cotton bud. We'll measure that one in a second. Let's just try it now. It's looking a mess, isn't it? Me messing with the blooming thing. Well, it was worth the few tests I've done there, but it isn't those. I fitted that one back on. That one is also 150 picofarad, so I just need to get this one approximately into position here, the right way up. I can't see what I'm doing. I'm going to use magnification, do this off camera, but I just need to get that one back on, because I don't think it's those. The key obviously is trying to get these super straight. I don't want to use hot air, because I don't want to affect that, or anything else for that matter. Yeah, it will clean up, it'll be good as new when I'm finished. What I might do next is move this somewhere else. Where? We've ruled out the connections, we ruled out the wires there, we've ruled out the SDR, MPX and the other one, which come down here actually, because that is pretty flat there, so I don't think it's any inductive coupling or anything going on there. One thought I did have is obviously it could be the code in this CPLD here that's doing something a bit strange with the PCM. It could also be maybe a clock coming into this, maybe we're getting a little bit of ringing or something, but then the thing I'm having a hard time understanding is, why is it only the game music? There are other PCM samples and things used, so everything is sort of coming back to the VROM. Everything in my mind is coming back to the game soundtrack, the way it was compressed and put on there not being correct. So maybe it was converted incorrectly before it was written to the VROM. I don't know whether they've got an automatic process that takes a WAV file or an MP3 or something and then converts it to ADM PCM. Maybe there's a glitch in that, or it's glitched at the point when they converted it. So it might need this flashing. Up here, this kind of looks like a JTAG connectivity. It might not be. It might be test points for something else. But let's say, for argument's sake, that these chips can be programmed by JTAG. It could be done that way. Certainly this will be JTAG. But I'm not sure about these. How do these get programmed? I'm not honestly sure. I don't know whether they're some sort of SPI or something. You see, the problem with this, and people have, you know, a few people have said, why is there not a USB or a micro SD slot? Well, this car has been designed just you know, to make it as simple and as affordable as possible. If you compare to something like the NG dev carts, there's a lot more chips on those. There's a lot more encryption goes on. I suspect there's no encryption on these actually, and I think that's one of the reasons why they're making the ROM available. So you could, in theory, take that off, take the fixed version of the ROM and write it and stick the chip back on. That ultimately might be the solution, but obviously Bitmap Bureau themselves have got programmers that I think they can program these with the chips in situ. So the very worst case, if it is the VROM, we will be able to send the carts back to Bitmap Bureau and they'll be able to program it with the corrected VROM. It's Painful though, isn't it? It's painful for them. Now I think maybe there'll be regional centres where you can send it to, not necessarily Bitmap Bureau, but on contract to Bitmap Bureau. There may be certain companies and individuals around the world that might be taking these carts in and upgrading, you know, or rewriting the ROM for us. That might be ultimately the answer, but anything we can do to try and avoid that, which is why we've tried to do these things here. Anyway, I'll get that back on. So you can see the scope of experimentation I did with the graphics board here, you know, the char board. Yeah, I ruled out a lot of stuff here, actually. And obviously there are long traces here that could need something like this. You can see it's super flat. It didn't make any difference, no difference whatsoever. To the graphical issues, that is, on mine. Now, I think actually, having done more testing, I had some crashes last night, some exceptions and stuff, because I'd never really tested it for more than a minute. So, of course, now actually trying to play it and progress through the levels, and, you know, you're lucky if it lasts more than about 5 minutes before you get an exception. If you leave it running in demo mode, the same thing happens. But the interesting thing I noticed with the demo mode is the first level of the title screen get messed up. The intro's okay. The part where the guy is sat at the console, it's the final part of the intro. I'll show you in a minute what I mean. Where he says, you know, I don't know, ready to engage turbo boost or something. The background is supposed to be like space with a, I don't know, a star system or something there. And often that gets messed up. It's like the background stuff rather than the actual sprites. So that made me think, hang on a minute, maybe it's nothing to do with the char stuff. Maybe it's actually something in workram that's getting messed up, like the play field, you know, the play area or something. I could be wrong. You see, I don't really understand how this game's work, and I also don't really understand where the assets are stored. You know, I want to say assets, I'm talking about like a tile map. Does it sit in VRAM? Well, it probably does, video RAM, but the CPU probably has to tell the you know, LSPC, the graphics IC there, what to do, you know, what to stick where. So actually, because of the exceptions that are occurring with this, you know, the crashes, I'm thinking it's a you know, a program interface problem, actually, and that would tie in with looking at Bitmap Bureau's blog. So Bitmap Bureau shared updates on Kickstarter, and I think one of the last ones, they actually covered the same sort of issue, so they didn't quite resolve it. I think they thought they had, but they hadn't, certainly not with respect for the MV1FZ. And incidentally, I had 2 people in the last 24 hours contact me to say their 1FZ is the same. I think one of them posted on a video, one of them posted somewhere else on a forum or something. So I'm going to target the, I think it's a bank switching problem, but it's probably data bus. I forget where it is now. Some of the port connections are here or here, I think. They look okay here in terms of lots of ground around there, so I'm sceptical of that being the issue. I think the problem that Bitmap Bureau had before with these here, one of these, something was glitching on one of these translators. So I'm going to inspect this very carefully and just see if there's anything where the data bus perhaps might benefit from having a little bit of copper tape on it or something. Right, believe it or not, I've made some progress with copper tape. Let me just show you. There's still a little bit remaining, so hopefully we can improve that and fix it further, but I'll show you exactly what's happening now. Now, if you let the intro run, everything runs fine there, but if I just start it, oh, hang on, we've got an issue here, you can see this. Why is this flickering down here? Why have we got 30 credits? What on earth? Let's just reset that. Right, let's hit start. You can see it's off to the side a bit there. Now, if you watch the orange bit here, just watch, see it's pretty stable, but occasionally, look, it's just flicked again. Stable, stable, stable. Before, that was consistently flickering, it flicked then. Stable, 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 stable. Flicked. That might be normal, I don't think it is. Anyway, if we hit start. This bit here is the best it's ever looked. Flicker there, I didn't get that last time. And just in general, it seems better. You can actually go screen to screen. It's when you go upwards, up a screen, it would usually mess up really badly. So it is a little bit better. It's not 100% yet. Now that change only came in with the last bit of copper tape I added actually, and it's around, I think, the address lines actually for the program side. So I'm not sure what's different on an MV1FZ about the address lines, but that bit of copper tape has made, look at that, that's perfect now. That's made a huge difference. See if the intro will play now perfectly without an issue, because it has done a number of times like this. Yeah, look, perfect. So I think I'm not nearly there. I just need to have a look at the remaining parts of where the address lines are routed and maybe put another piece of copper tape somewhere. So this is the state of the board. I started working my way around the bank selection stuff. There's some signals, I think which side they're on now. I think they might be down here, I'm not sure. But anyway, I worked my way around doing the data bus and stuff, and I ended up here on the address bus, and this is the bit that just fixed it. So obviously we've not covered all of this here, we've not covered this bit up here, and it obviously comes out here and through there. So I don't know whether to just get a bit of copper tape there. There's something happening, and I think these are the address lines. I think, and this would explain why perhaps it's only the 1FZ, because the boards are laid out differently. The actual cart slot thing, you know, the way the traces go and where they go to the motherboard, they're going to be different lengths. So you might be more inclined to get a problem with the address bus, perhaps, on a 1FZ versus anything else, just based on the way the 1FZ was laid out. But of course, you know, you've got to take that into account when you're designing your car. That is what makes developing an MVS car or an AES car, perhaps, well, probably the MVS more, harder. Although there are quite a few different versions of the AES as well, a few different versions in general. So I could extend the copper tape up here. That might do it. Let's try that before we stick a piece here, I think. I do believe I have fixed it. Let's just reset it. That's totally stable there. No changes whatsoever. Just after adding that extra small piece of copper there. So I think, in summary, 2 small pieces of copper tape will fix the problem with the MV1FZ. Now obviously I need to test it thoroughly here, and what I really need to do is start to remove the other pieces that I think are doing nothing at the moment. Still got, you know, sound on the left. I think that's, as I say, the VROM, the wrong one's been written to it, you know, although it's been formatted incorrectly before it's stuck on the ROM perhaps, or it's the CPLD. But look at that, straight, nice straight image there, perfect. Watch that orange band. I'm watching this here, look for changes. It should not change, it should just scroll past, and it is doing. Nice and smooth, no issues. That is perfect, that is nailed. Oh, hang on, it flickered there, did you see that? So, that's really annoying. Might need a small piece of copper tape on the other side actually, but it's better from adding that second piece. There's of course a little bit of room to stick a piece underneath as well, the other bit. You could argue maybe just 2 larger pieces. Oh look, that's not right. But you see, when you get the orange band flicker there, it's messed the banking up. So that's the thing, you know, if I just reset that and we start it before it does that little flicker on the orange band, I know the banking should be right at that point in time, I think. Because what you probably got is some parasitic capacitance going on here. Talked about before when I looked at the MVS 161-in-1 carts, and when I was looking at that little adapter there for the you know, Crix Everdrive, the N8 with a Famicom adapter. Perfect, look. Ah, we got an issue there. They said that ABEA, so it isn't quite 100%, but it's a lot better. So one repeatable problem is this exception. This occurs after you let the demo go around and it finishes the end of a round. You can hear, you know, the player dies and you can hear the timer count down. I'll show you in a minute. And as it counts down irregularly. It speeds up and then slows down, then speeds up, and then you get this. And it's always the same error. It's repeatable. So I'll reset it. I'll just let you watch this through here. Because obviously we've made progress here. We're nearly there. The graphic issues have dealt with. It's pretty stable, but we've now got this repeatable error. Could still be data bus this. I might need to stick another piece of copper tape on the data bus, because it's perhaps not all covered. Watch the timer. 6, 5, 4, 1, 0. You see, like it sort of speeds up and then you get that error. Every single time repeatable. So the other thought that crossed my mind is it could be something to do with the Unibars version maybe, but I'm pretty sure I never saw this and saw the demo go through previously. So I think we've still got perhaps a little glitch occurring on one bit on the data bus there. There's perhaps not enough of it covered. I'll inspect the board again, just see if anything else needs doing. Now, I think that's fixed it. I can't be 100% sure. Because the thing is, obviously, I've not got direct communication with the developers here. I'd like to have asked them a question. The demo there that first presents in a sec, you'll see it again. Is that a macro? Is it like a macro recorder thing where the movement of the player is just recorded, all the positions, the movements, and the directions he moves in? In fact, it's a she. Or she's a she, I should say. When that character moves around, is that all recorded positions? Or is there a little bit of, I don't like the word AI, but a bit of code there to allow the computer player to, control the character and just randomly move it around and react to the things that are on the screen? Because this plays out differently. You saw the character die a minute ago, we got the exception. Now, I've tried this about 6 times now, I've done power cycles, resets, the error doesn't occur anymore, but it plays out differently. The player does not die, the counter doesn't go down, there's no counter. And it was the counter that was acting weird. So I think maybe there was like an interrupt occurring or something was happening there, perhaps due to an address issue. Now the exception was an address exception. Look, it's different, played out differently. I can't get it to behave the same way it did, but nevertheless the error is gone. And all I did is there were about 5 address lines to the left hand side of the prompt board there that weren't quite covered. I focused on the ones that were close to each other, but those last 5 I went, they'll go alright. Well, actually it seems that you've got to cover all those address lines there. That does seem to be the issue, and the fact it's playing out differently makes me think, yeah, that would make sense. I don't think there's several sets of demos for that level where one of them the player dies and the other one the player doesn't. I don't think so, because I haven't been able to get that from power cycles. It just plays the same way every single time now. The player never dies in that first demo scene, so I think that's it. I think that's the last issue. I'm now going to test this for the next 2 or 3 hours. I'll just leave it on, I'll leave it go around demo, I'll play it for a bit, let it go around demo again, and I'll report back. And I've talked about this sort of thing so many times before on so many different videos, really. Perhaps not in the same exact context, but, I've talked about it in the sense of the Amiga, Zorro boards on 2000s and why combinations of things can be a problem with different hardware and all that. And it's about differences, differences between models. So when we're looking at the MVS here, the MV1FZ, what's different about it? I've heard a few people saying the MV1FZ is the worst one. That's rubbish. It's actually the same chipset as the later AES, so there's nothing really wrong with the 1FZ per se. The big problem with the 1FZ with things like this is probably the address bus and the data bus, the way they're laid out on the actual MVS itself and through the card backplane, the bit that goes to the card interface there. It might be different. It's different to some of the other 1 slots. The difference in distance on the address and the data bus from where the CPU is to exactly where it goes on here can be a problem, but it's also, is the data bus buffered on that MVS? Well, some of the MVS it's buffered. If you look at say a 1AX or a 1A, you've got a Neo buff on the data bus there, haven't you? So that buffering can make a huge difference. That could make the difference between you not having the issue with the data bus here. Is this the data bus side? I forget. Yes, it is, I think. Yeah, on a 1A or 1AX, you might not need these 2 ones here. You might need the ones on the other side for the address bus. Yeah, but the address bus might be nearer on a 1AX to what it is here, or the traces are laid out in a more optimal way on a 1AX to ensure you don't get any more, more ringing or reflection or whatever. So that's one of the problems. The 4-slot, 2-slot, 6-slot, you've got a lot of buffering. Yeah, you've got buffering on the data bus and the address bus and all the various buses, the V, M, S, C. It's all buffered for each of the individual slots, so you've got a lot less chance for, long distance connectivity and reflection and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, I think anybody developing a board for the MVS is always going to have some difficulties, certainly when it comes to some of the single slots. And it can be the same with the multi slots as well. I know that when Terra Onion started, with the Neo SD, that wasn't exactly 100% on its initial release. They sent them out to some people. A few people had problems, myself included, and those guys were able to update the firmware to solve the problems there. I don't think they had the grounding issues we've got here. The other thing is, before I forget, it could just be these chips. chips, yeah, the manufacture of these two LV245s here, maybe someone should look at the datasheet. Maybe there's something better to swap out for here. Something that, I don't know, you'd think that they're all going to be the same, but they might not behave exactly the same between different manufacturers. So that might be something to consider, a swap of these for a different brand, and our problems may go away. We might not need any copper tape or anything there. And I think it's important to note that the fudge fixes I've done here, I don't want anyone to go away and rush and do this to your car, because you're going to invalidate your warranty. Just bear in mind, all I've done here is help Bitmap Bureau identify that there's a problem with the address bus, problem with the data bus on the 1FZ. They may suggest, like I say, sending it back for repair. They may suggest, sending it to someone in your region, like a distributor or someone who's going to do a mod on their behalf. Do you see what I'm trying to say? Don't break your warranty. You'll damage your car. You won't be able to get it repaired or replaced. And to finish talking about the sound issue, Bitmap Bureau need to check the ROMs they use to write to all of these carts. Stick them in an emulator, yeah? If the sound is perfect, and the ADM PCM format is okay, like it's not like a tool set problem where it's converted it to a format that works with an emulator just by chance, but when it's on proper hardware it doesn't work. I don't think that's the case, but first thing would be test it in an emulator. If the sound's okay, I would suspect it's the PCM side of this CPLD. So someone, the person who developed the code for this CPLD here, it's a Xilinx chip there. That's a common one, that. Stephen uses that on terrible fireboards, actually, I think, on the TF 1260 or the TF 1230 maybe. But anyway, if they look at the CPLD code there for the PCM, AD-PCM, maybe that's the issue. Maybe it's using ADM PCM type B or something, and there's a glitch there where they haven't got it working in stereo or something. So that might need an update, but I think that's a JTAG header there, I think. So lots of people around the world, could offer or do a deal with Bitmap Bureau to update the CPLD on there if it needed that. And likewise, it's the same with the ROM. Maybe, I don't know whether these can be JTAG programmed, these ROMs. It might need to go to someone who's got a programmer capable of doing that. The chip may need to come off it if it is the VROM and soldered back on. But you know what? It's simple stuff to do. There's plenty of smart, clever, talented electronic engineers globally that could help Bitmap Bureau with this problem. And I'm sure Bitmap Bureau have got contacts in various regions and things, already. So I would expect the fixes, it might take a month or two to get to some fixes for these, but don't worry, I've got every confidence that those guys will sort out the people that need to be sorted out. So in summary, if you've got a decent logic analyzer, you can see I've got a better one now, but it's a 16 channel. 16 channels is really not enough, but someone with a logic analyzer, perhaps the person who helped do the hardware side of this in Bitmap Bureau, if he was to logic analyse the address bus and the data bus, he may be able to work out exactly where the faults are, because it may be just specific bits there. But you know what, because you've got this issue here where there's no ground plane, is there, through lots of traces. It's the same on the address bus and the data bus. And in summary, the bits I've numbered here, these are the ones with a 1 were where I first targeted. These were just experimental. I don't think those had any effect at all, so I could probably remove those, and I'll perhaps do that next. Same here, I can remove that. But again, these are required. Yeah, so you've got address. I think the data bus is this side, if I'm remembering correctly. Yeah. So I had to do all the way along here. You could have one piece of copper tape to do that there, just cut it to shape. You could even do that bit, you could do it over the whole lot, but you've got to be very careful, because anyway you've got connectivity like that with copper tape, it's got like a glue on the underside, and it's not conductive, it isolates itself. But I wouldn't want to take a chance going over points like that if you were to try and do this yourself. But as I say, don't do it to your car, you're going to invalidate your warranty. Wait for a fix, and I'll talk about a better fix in a minute. So yeah, address bus, that was the final thing. Actually, that was the bit I was missing. Do you remember I said I'd not done all of the address bus? There were like 4 or 5 connections on the end there, and the exceptions I was getting, that's what it was. That was the address error. That was that crazy behaviour in the demo there where the player died and a countdown started and the countdown was erratic, because those address lines there were the issue. Just that little bit, that bit of copper tape's made that huge difference. So yeah, address bus on this side, again you can have that all as one piece. These bits are not required. data bus on this side. I think that bit is required there. The data bus comes up and out there, so that did make a difference to the graphical side. The ones with a 1 are where I first experimented and solved the graphical problems, almost. You know, we just had very minor glitches then, and that was when I then went on to the number 2s and fixed the remaining outstanding issues. So yeah, it's a bit of a fudge. Now, talking about what could you do to fix this properly, I mentioned earlier maybe a different manufacturer of these, a second board revision, and get some ground plane in between these connections. That would solve the problem for the 1FZ. And I think maybe it isn't just the 1FZ. I've seen some reports out there of problems on either a 1C or it might be a 1A, I'm not sure, just glitches or occasional exceptions or occasional graphical issues. So it might be the same thing there. Don't quote me on that. I'm just going off what I've read on forums, and sometimes what you read on forums is someone didn't clean their slot properly, and that's the problem they're getting. So in summary, these boards are nice. You know, revision 2 would be a good idea for them, I think, moving forward, so they don't have these sort of issues, although they might be able to address it with different chips. The other thought that sprung to mind, and this might be the easier, better, tidier fix, get some resistor arrays. Can you see these ones here? There's a couple there. If you've got some resistor arrays with the same pin pitch as those, and they're wide enough, you might need to have 2, you could literally, on the side that comes out to the MVS, you could maybe pull down the data bus there and do the address bus, because I think that's the address bus, could be wrong, with maybe 10k pull downs. That might solve it, because what that'll do is it act as a termination. Any noise and reflection stuff might get dealt with by having maybe a 10k pull down. You might have to go lower, might have to go 4k7 or I don't know, something like that. But that's just an idea. I haven't got any resistor arrays suitable, so I can't test that theory. But maybe Bitmap Bureau could check that themselves. They could try some different chips here. They could get it on a logic analyzer, you know, something with more than 16 channels. Their top tech guy could have a look at it and go, oh, yeah, it's just certain bits on the address bus and certain bits on the data bus when it's used with certain single slot boards. We can address that with a couple of resistor packs or a board revision or something. But anyway, hopefully you found that interesting. I'm just very pleased right now because I can play this. All right, the sound is in mono, but I've got every confidence that's a relatively easy fix. I tell you what, if Bitmap Bureau want me to update the CPLD, and that is JTAG, just give me the JED. I can do that. I've got capability. I've got the JTAG for that, for doing Xilinx chips, and possibly the ROM, if they can let me know how to do that. Is it SPI? Is it, can you do it via the JTAG, or do I need to connect SPA up somewhere or something? I don't know. So maybe I could do that, or I could just send this board back to them. They could flash that, and I could do a part 2. I think it's also important to point out there's lots of people who've received this who haven't got the graphical issues, the crashes, the instability things, all the crazy things you saw with my car here. It's just this audio thing. And you know what? If you connect it to a mono setup, some people have put it in a cab and it's mono, they don't care. It's perfect. You're never going to notice the problem. You would never need to do anything. You know, if it's stable in your machine, you've not got a 1FZ, and you're happy with the mono audio for the game music there. You know, it's important to note that stereo is on the other things. The effects are stereo. There's lots of sounds and things that are stereo. It's just the game music to the left-hand side, and you'll see that in a minute. I've got a direct capture of this in a minute, so you can you know, hear the sound issue, a direct capture, and you'll see it's working. It works fine on here now, so I can now go away and play this for the next few weeks. I'm very happy that I can play it, and we just need to wait for the sound fix. So in terms of the chartboard, this is not needed. I did this when I had that text problem, you know, with the characters messed up in the large text. I thought, oh, it must be the S layer. But actually, I think if that was messed up, parts of the image would be incorrect there. So yeah, that is just not needed at all. There's nothing wrong with the chartboard. I mean, all right, you've got the same ground issues here, but you know what? It doesn't translate into anything that's noticeable. You don't have any problems with sprites or graphics or colours or anything.
Commander Darius, we have a code red distress signal from Outpost 88.
We have no time to lose, Lieutenant. Dispatch a squad of our finest Marines. Buckle up, meatheads. Prepare for half a boost.
Approaching now, sir. I have a bad feeling about this.
Xeno Crisis. Make your selection. Room clear. Room clear. Room clear. Rescue the humans. Game over. No!
Thanks!
Thank you!
Room clear.
So as I say, let's try the CD version. I think this is the one, because I did get a soundtrack with it as well. I don't remember ordering the special edition or anything, but I did get a soundtrack. Is there any way to tear this? No, it's just it's one of these, isn't it, where you've got to find the edge. Lovely. There's nothing like opening something new like that. Fantastic. Now, a lot of these originally came, I think, with one of these cardboard things like this here, so I'll try and retain that. Let's put that out of the way. So let's move that cellophane out of the way, and let's have a look at the disc. Just pull that out. I'm going to get fingerprints on it now, aren't I? So let's have a quick flip through that. So it's talking about backup memory there, story, how to play, control options. It's nice to change those there to show the SNK ones. Some artwork. Very cool. Now I think the ISO for this will be made available, so I'll be able to stick it on the SD card and run it that way. But yeah, if you saw, I did a mod to this. It's got an SD card in there, one of Vertex Neo SD loaders, so I can play all the games from SD card, but I've also got the drive working as well. I think D is the CD menu, is it? Yeah, I think so. I think that just reboots it and puts it in a mode where it uses the disc. Hopefully. Yep, I think that's looking at the disc. Yep, start button. Whoa, that's working. So hopefully we won't have the same sound issue here. And I think it's unlikely, because I think the reason they've used ADPCM for the MVS and AS versions is to simplify things, because when you come to the CD, there's not as much RAM and stuff. Well, there's more RAM actually, but there's no, you can't, just take data straight from car. You've got to load it into RAM. So based on the fact that the CD drive is there, it's going to be like all the other Neo CD games, where you've got the soundtrack on Red Book Audio, on the actual CD. So that way you get, better music, you could say, better clarity on the Neo Geo CD. So let's just, let's find the volume.
Commander Darius, we have a code.
Yeah, straight away, that's fantastic. It's in stereo. We're looking at this through composite here, by the way, so it does look pretty fuzzy. But it is in stereo. Let's just hit start. This bit here as well. Yeah, that was all left side on the MVS. And on the AES, from what I understand. I haven't come across anybody with the AES version where the sound is correct. That sounds fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. You can tell it's coming from the CD. It's probably like a direct recording of the Mega Drive version, I would think. So let's hit start. Yeah, you can see lots of banding there with the composite here. I really should go and get my AES SCART lead out, because that's RGB. Yeah, I'm very impressed with that. You know, this is what I was hoping for the MVS version. I was just disappointed when I found the problem with my MV1FZ there, the graphical thing. But it's the sound thing that's really annoyed me about that cart, if I'm honest. Sweet. And all the hostage names are some of the guys that contributed, you know, with the crowdfunding. I believe my name should be there somewhere as one of the hostages, I don't know. Mobius Tech, hey, I know him. Well, I don't know him, but I know who he is, you know, on social media. So how does it play? Very well, actually. And I've noticed there's more colour in this versus the Mega Drive. It's just you know, a little bit better looking. But you know what? The Mega Drive version is just fantastic. Jerome there. One tip you can do is just wait till you're out of ammo. I didn't realise how many bullets I had there. And then ammo respawns. Oh. Continue. Yeah, that looks just so much better than the Mega Drive version from what I remember. There's a lot more colours. I don't know what the grenade button is now. Maybe I've not got any grenades, I don't know. Oh, it's that one. Oh, I am so bad at this. Oh. I just changed to the female character, didn't I? Unintentionally. And like the Mega Drive version, you can change the control scheme here, because I'm having a hard time firing the grenades, because that's the button you hold down to change your angle. I'm going to run out of credits in a minute, aren't I? Just keen to see if there's any more hostage names that I recognise. E, that's about right for me. Again, sounding fantastic. I can tell that's an audio track on the CD. I don't know, just go with random stuff here. Exit.
Looks like you're in for a fight. Room clear.
Shoot the core, I recognise that. Ah, no credits left. Anyway, that works really well. Very pleased with that. If the MVS and AS version sounded like that, I would be absolutely thrilled to pieces, actually, because it would have been a perfect release. So it's just frustrating. I'm sure it's very frustrating for those guys, because obviously it's going to take them some time and money and stuff to sort this out now. So I guess that's it in terms of part one. It's broke my heart having to tear this apart, and even more so having to pull off the 164 serial number here, because you know what, that looked gorgeous, didn't it? And of course, look at my mucky fingerprints and stuff on there. Now what I will do now off camera, I'm going to remove the bits that haven't got a number on, just retest. I would expect the fixes, yeah, it might take a month or two to get to some fixes for these, but don't worry, I've got every confidence that those guys will sort out the people that need to be sorted out. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. I'll catch you in the next video.